Within the silent, echoing halls of a grand old structure, a particular spirit is said to linger. Her name is Anna, a child forever suspended in the innocence of 8 years. Her presence is often described as captivating, a truly charming apparition. Her presence is often described as captivating, a truly charming apparition. She possesses an eternal fondness for play, an unyielding desire to wander through the spectral corridors, and an unwavering inclination to seek out other children, drawing them into her timeless games. Anna's preference for attire is notably refined. She is consistently depicted in a beautiful little dress, adorned with delicate lace trim along its hem, and often featuring an ornate ruffled collar that frames her youthful face. And, completing her pristine ensemble, are tiny white patent leather shoes, reportedly crafted from the finest materials imported from distant European shores. Her ethereal nature does not diminish her childlike zest. She cherishes moments of play, summoning other spectral youngsters, and delighting in surprising them, a characteristic whimsy typical of an 8-year-old girl. However, the profound and chilling truth about Anna is that she has remained 8 years old for an astonishing 125 years. Anna is not a living child, but one of the many spectral inhabitants who call the Eden Hotel their eternal home, and delighting in surprising them, a characteristic whimsy typical of an 8-year-old girl. However, the profound and chilling truth about Anna is that she has remained 8 years old for an astonishing 125 years. Anna is not a living child, but one of the many spectral inhabitants who call the Eden Hotel their eternal home. This enigmatic edifice is situated in Cordoba, Argentina, specifically within the picturesque city of La Falda. For those who venture to this location today, they will discover a strikingly beautiful landscape, punctuated by the imposing presence of an aging, somewhat dilapidated building. Yet, despite its weathered appearance, the Eden Hotel is far from abandoned in the present day. A dedicated association meticulously organizes guided tours, available both by day and under the cloak of night, allowing visitors to explore its storied past. This remarkable site currently stands as a revered historical landmark, having been officially designated as a municipal historical heritage site by the community of La Falda. It is presently undergoing a significant process of restoration and preservation. Anna, the Eternal Child, is but one of the many spectral entities that have imparted a unique, otherworldly luminescence to this extraordinary location, which, incidentally, also offers captivating nocturnal explorations into its paranormal phenomena. Modern inquiries readily reveal the official website of the organizers who facilitate these immersive tours. Such an experience promises to be profoundly intriguing, for this hotel, which now appears somewhat ruinous and isolated amidst a cluster of ancient trees, conceals a truly immense and dramatic history. Allow the narrative to unfold, revealing the intricate tapestry of its past. The establishment bears the name Eden Hotel, deliberately without an accent mark. If an accent were present, it would be phonetically rendered as Hotel Eden. However, its original appellation was Eden Hotel, signifying the Hotel of Eden, a place intended to evoke paradise. The genesis of this ambitious vision traces back to the year 1895. A man identified by the surname Bachtli embarked on an exploratory journey through this very region, the expansive territory where the modern-day city of La Falda now stands. He became utterly captivated by the inherent beauty and serene charm of the landscape. Following a series of intricate negotiations and strategic financial maneuvers, Bachtli made the pivotal decision to divest himself of a pre-existing hotel property he owned in Cordoba. With the proceeds, he then acquired a substantial portion of an immense estate, a vast tract of land encompassing no less than 900 hectares. With this significant acquisition, Bachtli promptly set about assembling a consortium of partners, meticulously laying the groundwork for a new enterprise, a sophisticated society dedicated to the construction of an unparalleled luxury hotel. This envisioned retreat was to be deliberately isolated from the bustling world, nestled instead within a pristine, cool, arid, and profoundly agreeable environment. The foundational concept was to establish a sanctuary for rest and recuperation. It is essential to recall that this historical period was marked by the devastating prevalence of tuberculosis, a disease that claimed countless lives. Consequently, the prospect of a locale offering fresh, invigorating air, pristine cleanliness, and a welcoming atmosphere, a place to seek refuge during the summer months, a haven protected from the harsh cold of more northerly climes, represented an ideal solution, a perfect setting for healing and rejuvenation. This, then, marked the formal commencement of the pioneering company. The partnership comprised several key figures: Juan Kurt, whose origins were either German or Swiss; Walke himself, who hailed from Germany; and their distinguished associate, María Herbert de Krotner, also of German descent. The Eden Hotel emerged into existence during a transformative era characterized by monumental European migrations to the Americas. Across various parts of the continent, immigrants from Spain, France, and Italy sought new beginnings. In the specific region of Argentina, a particularly significant influx of German immigrants established new lives. Other parts of the Americas witnessed diverse arrivals. For instance, many Japanese immigrants settled in Peru, while Chile welcomed people from a myriad of nationalities. However, within this particular zone, a prominent German community flourished. In contrast to the Spanish immigrants, who often integrated seamlessly into local communities and formed families with indigenous populations, the Germans tended to maintain a more reserved social stance. They frequently established distinct enclaves of German population, preserving their cultural identity. These influential individuals, often industrial magnates and affluent members of the German society of the time, naturally gravitated towards and highly recommended the Eden Hotel. Thus, in 1898, the Eden Hotel opened its doors, instantly becoming a truly spectacular destination. It was, without exaggeration, a paragon of luxury, an impressive testament to meticulous planning and execution. Every single detail, from the grandest architectural flourish to the smallest amenity, had been conceived with the quintessential German efficiency that was its hallmark. The hotel boasted 100 exquisitely appointed rooms, providing ample accommodation for its discerning guests. Furthermore, it possessed the cutting-edge innovation of its own electrical power generation plant, a dedicated usina, ensuring a consistent supply of electricity throughout the premises. Hot water was a standard offering in its 40 bathrooms. While 100 rooms shared these 40 facilities, this was considered a mark of supreme modernity for the era. Beyond basic utilities, the hotel leveraged its electrical capabilities to offer additional luxuries, such as the production of ice. Enormous refrigerators were installed, not only capable of preparing a variety of frozen desserts, be it snow cream, ice cream, or gelato, as one might prefer, but also, crucially, generating abundant ice for refreshing beverages, ensuring every drink was served perfectly chilled. The range of facilities provided was extensive and thoughtfully curated. The guest rooms themselves were envisioned as precious havens of comfort and style, every element meticulously chosen to convey an atmosphere of pure luxury. The main dining hall was a masterwork of design, leaving no detail to chance. Its lighting scheme was carefully orchestrated. The arrangement of tables was elegant and functional, and the service was unfailingly attentive and impeccably refined. Naturally, the culinary offerings were equally paramount. The hotel featured not one, but two distinct kitchens: a savory kitchen dedicated to main courses and a sweet kitchen for desserts, each presided over by its own specialized chef. A vast, well-stocked cellar housed an impressive collection of European wines, with a particular emphasis on the esteemed vintages from the German Rhine region. An ever-present ambiance of music permeated the hotel, enhancing the sophisticated atmosphere. Additionally, the Eden Hotel provided essential and convenient services, particularly considering the somewhat remote location of the nearest railway station. Although efforts had been made to extend the railway line as close as possible, it still remained a considerable distance. Consequently, upon a traveler's arrival, they would first be directed to a comfortable resting place near the station. Here, they would be served nourishing refreshments and given time to rejuvenate before embarking on the final leg of their journey. Initially, this involved horse-drawn carriages transporting guests to the hotel. Later, these were replaced by the revolutionary Ford Model T automobiles, making the arrival of guests in such a modern conveyance a truly impressive spectacle, an integral part of the overall luxurious experience. Once within its hallowed grounds, it was immediately evident that the Eden Hotel was an exclusive domain, reserved solely for distinguished individuals. It was, unequivocally, not an inexpensive destination. Every facet of the experience, every minute detail, was orchestrated to perfection. Yet this level of meticulousness came at a premium. The high cost, however, served a crucial purpose. It guaranteed that the clientele would invariably be drawn from the uppermost echelons of society, members of an elite social stratum. This commitment to exclusivity led to the provision of a range of specialized services. For instance, a dedicated postal facility was established directly within the hotel premises, ensuring that guests, particularly the many visiting entrepreneurs, could maintain seamless communication without any loss of precious time. Early telephone lines were also among the pioneering installations, further connecting the hotel's esteemed guests to the outside world. Beyond mere amenities, the Eden Hotel catered to guests seeking extended stays. It is vital to remember that a significant proportion of the Eden Hotel's clientele comprised individuals afflicted with tuberculosis. These guests sought a therapeutic environment characterized by an abundance of fresh, clean air, expansive open spaces, ample sunshine, and opportunities for physical activities designed to aid their recovery. Thus, some guests would arrive for 3-month durations, though the vast majority typically remained for at least 1 month. The philosophy was clear: good food, fine beverages, abundant sunshine, crisp air, and vast open countryside, complemented by a range of activities, all contributed to the ideal of a healthy body and a sound mind. The hotel grounds featured sophisticated European novelties such as tennis courts, a pastime introduced specifically for its elite guests. Horseback riding was another popular pursuit, allowing visitors to saddle a horse and venture into the majestic surrounding mountains, immersing themselves in the natural beauty. Distinguished ladies could leisurely gather for afternoon tea, sharing refined conversation with other members of high society. Meanwhile, gentlemen might retire to the beer area, a social hub where they could engage in discussions about the latest current events, important news, and significant developments, exchanging insights and opinions. This was a place where influential politicians, decorated military officers, renowned artists, painters, sculptors, musicians, and even towering intellectual figures such as Albert Einstein found repose. Indeed, a photograph of Einstein himself within the hotel's confines serves as enduring proof of its illustrious guest list. Decades later, a figure as ideologically distinct as Ernesto Che Guevara also sought accommodation here. In its nascent years, the Eden Hotel was conceived as a sanctuary where every arriving guest was treated with the deference and attention befitting royalty. European nobility, including kings and prime ministers, frequently graced its opulent halls. Consequently, the establishment steadily evolved into a truly exceptional destination. The hotel even boasted its own open-air theater, a charming venue for warm evenings where guests could indulge in the refined pleasure of opera. It is important to recall that María Herbert de Krotner, the German woman who was a driving force behind the hotel's early success, held a deep appreciation for German music. Consequently, the compositions of Wagner and similar classical works were frequently performed and enjoyed within the hotel's artistic spaces. Furthermore, guests could simply recline on one of the magnificent balconies adorning the front of the building. The hotel's architecture was a unique blend of styles, but it featured a particularly expansive front section dominated by a grand balcony. This area was equipped with retractable screens or curtains, offering protection from strong winds or excessive sun, allowing guests to savor their surroundings in comfort. Here, one could leisurely sip a cup of coffee, a fragrant tea, a traditional mate, or a fine wine, perhaps enjoying a premium Havana cigar, all while being serenaded by music. It was a place of exquisite beauty, imbued with an overwhelming sense of tranquility and, crucially, absolute security. Elegant individuals, members of the global elite, arrived here seeking refuge and luxury. Inevitably, the Eden Hotel's growing prominence led to a significant transformation of its surroundings. The site rapidly became so important that satellite communities began to form around its periphery. These nascent settlements provided residences for the numerous individuals who either worked directly for the hotel or were otherwise associated with its expansive operations. While a dedicated area within the hotel itself was reserved for certain permanent staff members, the burgeoning external communities underscored the hotel's profound economic and social impact. The grand establishment, with its 100 rooms, was designed to comfortably accommodate approximately 250 guests, a number matched by an astonishing staff of 250 employees. This meant, in practical terms, that there was nearly one dedicated employee for every single guest. This vast workforce included an array of professionals: housekeepers, concierges, skilled chefs, attentive waiters, security personnel, masseuses, and a dedicated medical staff. Every conceivable service and comfort was readily available within these walls. One can only imagine the sheer experience of arriving at such a destination, where one's every need was anticipated, and the level of personalized attention was unbelievably meticulous. Every detail, no matter how minor, was considered paramount. However, the adage holds true: not all that glitters is gold. Despite its initial grandeur and ambitious scope, the Eden Hotel did not immediately prosper. Indeed, its inaugural years were plagued by severe financial challenges. A critical juncture was reached when the partnership between Kurt Walk and María Herbert de Krootner ultimately dissolved. Witnessing the hotel's struggle to generate profit and its inability to thrive as a viable business, María Herbert de Krootner made the difficult decision to return to Germany. The hotel, facing insurmountable debt, was eventually declared bankrupt. A pivotal moment arrived when an individual named Turnquist acquired the hotel, as he had been the primary creditor who extended the initial financing. Recognizing the immense operational complexities inherent in managing such an establishment, Turnquist extended an urgent invitation to María Herbert, imploring her to return and lend her expertise. María Herbert was an imposing figure, standing at an impressive 1 meter 90 centimeters tall. She was often described as a Valkyrie, a woman of formidable presence and boundless energy. Her dedication to the hotel was absolute. She was an indefatigable worker known to sleep in a small room located directly behind the main counter during the late hours of the night, ensuring she was always vigilant and responsive to the hotel's needs. The Eden Hotel was, quite literally, her life's passion. Upon her return, she systematically rectified the operational deficiencies, steering the enterprise back towards profitability. Liberated from the burden of less effective partners, she meticulously reorganized the hotel's operations, transforming it into a flourishing and highly successful business venture. The hotel began to expand, its reputation and physical footprint steadily growing. However, to fund these continuous improvements and necessary expansions, a portion of the vast landholdings had to be strategically divested. The original 900 hectares were gradually subdivided and sold off, leaving the hotel with a significantly reduced parcel of land. It was upon these sold portions that the city of La Falda itself began to emerge and develop. Many of the initial inhabitants of this burgeoning community were, in fact, employees of the Eden Hotel, forming a direct symbiotic relationship between the grand establishment and its surrounding populace. Guests continued to arrive, finding immense pleasure and satisfaction during their stays, departing content and often returning, drawn back by the promise of leisure, comfort, and, crucially, a restorative environment for those suffering from illness. Many of the hotel's clientele were indeed very ill, primarily battling tuberculosis. María Herbert, with her relentless work ethic, personally oversaw every aspect of their care, dedicating entire days to her duties without pause or rest. The Eden Hotel was her creation, her triumph, a living manifestation of her vision. Yet even the most formidable individuals are susceptible to the toll of relentless effort. The cumulative weight of fatigue and exhaustion eventually began to exact its price. María Herbert had, for instance, undertaken the rigorous task of dismissing employees who were found to be derelict in their duties. She then painstakingly recruited and trained local individuals, those born and raised in the region, molding them into a highly skilled and dedicated service staff. This initiative proved to be a resounding success. These individuals became exemplary workers, and María herself was an exceptional, albeit demanding, employer. Her heavy footsteps were often heard as she meticulously inspected every minute detail, her presence a constant reminder of her exacting standards. But this intense dedication ultimately led to her exhaustion. By 1912, profoundly weary, she relinquished her position. The decision was made to sell the hotel. María Herbert de Krotner returned to Germany, and the Eden Hotel was subsequently acquired by two brothers, Walter and Bruno Eichhorn. Walter's wife, Ada von Ferd de Korn, also became an integral part of the new management team. This new ownership continued the practice of selling off portions of the land to finance further renovations and expansions. They modernized the facilities, enlarged the premises, and cultivated an astonishing popularity among the affluent, even attracting a significant European clientele. The Eichhorns were instrumental in drawing distinguished figures and influential personalities, ensuring their comfort and satisfaction throughout their stays. Furthermore, as prominent members of both the local society and the German community, they successfully attracted a substantial German demographic. Walter and Ada had, in fact, met only a few years prior, having arrived from Germany in 1907 and marrying shortly thereafter. Ada, a strong-willed and hard-working woman, also brought a family from a previous marriage. Their combined efforts continued to drive the hotel's growth and reputation. Then, abruptly, war erupted in Europe. The First World War cast its long shadow, and María Herbert de Krotner, who had sought peaceful retirement in Germany, found herself amidst global conflict. Ironically, this period saw the Eden Hotel itself surge in popularity. It quite literally exploded with guests, becoming utterly saturated. With European travel rendered impossible, many wealthy individuals redirected their leisure and medical tourism to the Eden Hotel. The era also predated the widespread availability of effective medicines, meaning many of the guests were genuinely ill. To accommodate the overwhelming demand and the specific needs of its clientele, various spaces within the hotel were reconfigured. Some rooms underwent significant upgrades, with private bathrooms being installed, further enhancing the hotel's appeal and capacity. A significant characteristic of the Eichhorns was their profound affinity for Germany and their homeland. During the war, however, travel was impossible, fraught with danger and logistical complexities. Once the First World War concluded, Ada and Walter immediately embarked on a journey to Europe, specifically to Germany, eager to revisit their ancestral lands and places of origin. What they encountered there left them profoundly shaken and horrified. The First World War had utterly devastated Germany, leaving it in ruins, grappling with a catastrophic economic crisis and scarred by widespread destruction. As they navigated this chaotic landscape, during one of their trips within Germany, they encountered a particular individual, This man, an infantry corporal, articulated precisely the sentiments and aspirations that resonated deeply with the Eichhorns. They became utterly enamored by his discourse, a powerful message centered on the strength and pride of Germany. Ada and Walter were staunch believers in these ideals. Indeed, they had subtly integrated this sense of German pride and identity into the ethos of their own hotel, naturally drawing a significant German clientele. Therefore, upon hearing this man speak amidst the prevailing chaos and despair, they were utterly captivated and promptly offered their support. That corporal was Adolf Hitler. The Eichhorns extended their aid and began to actively support him, providing financial assistance for his burgeoning campaign and maintaining regular correspondence and visits. Concurrently, within the confines of the hotel back in Argentina, certain peculiar ideologies began to take root and flourish. It is important to note that a substantial portion of the population surrounding the hotel, particularly in the areas that had been subdivided and sold, was of German descent. Consequently, it proved relatively effortless to cultivate within them the concept of Agur, greater fatherland, or motherland. The Eichhorns' relationship with Adolf Hitler became so remarkably close that in 1933, when Hitler ascended to the chancellorship, he personally dispatched a letter of gratitude to them, coinciding with their 25th wedding anniversary celebration. During a special commemoration, the German ambassador was present, formally presenting them with a memento personally signed by Adolf Hitler. In 1935, they were granted an audience at the Chancellery with Adolf Hitler himself, where they sat and partook in tea. Their privileged access was further underscored by instructions that the Eichhorns could enter at any moment, without the need for prior announcement or formal reception. Upon their return to Argentina, the Eden Hotel began to acquire an increasingly strange atmosphere. Some employees expressed bewilderment, unable to comprehend why they were compelled to raise their hands and utter the phrase, "Heil Hitler!" Indeed, numerous testimonies confirmed that within the Eden Hotel, greetings were frequently exchanged with the Nazi salute. This created a highly complex and often unsettling environment. When the Second World War erupted, several internal conflicts began to manifest within the hotel. Firstly, opinions diverged sharply. There were those who were staunchly pro-Nazi, and others who vehemently opposed the Nazis. This ideological schism even permeated the German community itself, with some individuals not believing this path to be correct. This division inevitably impacted the hotel's business and its overall operations. Yet, simultaneously, the Eichhorns actively promoted and sustained their vision, continuing to attract influential figures. Politicians continued to frequent the establishment. Furthermore, the hotel was afforded protection by the Argentine police. Security arrangements were meticulously organized, ensuring that any individuals attempting to stage boycotts or demonstrations due to their opposition to the warring Nazis were promptly removed by the authorities. This provides a stark illustration of the unusual influence and protection the hotel enjoyed. It is rumored that the Eichhorns installed an extraordinarily tall transmission and reception antenna, enabling them to directly listen to the Führer's speeches broadcast live on the radio. These broadcasts were then amplified through a system of large loudspeakers positioned in various parts of the building and externally, allowing the speeches to be heard in German across the premises and surrounding grounds. Additionally, within the hotel, several German employees were specifically hired. Notably, 7 of these employees were identified as sailors from the German battleship Graf Spee, the vessel that had famously been scuttled in the Rio de la Plata. These mariners, who had been held as prisoners elsewhere, found employment and relative freedom as part of the Eden Hotel staff, a curious detail in the broader narrative. In one of the main reception rooms, a majestic portrait of the Führer, framed in silver, was prominently displayed, the very wedding gift signed by Hitler himself. As history records, the war did not conclude favorably for the Germans. They ultimately lost the protracted conflict. In March 1945, a crucial date to remember, the Eden Hotel was formally confiscated by the Argentine government. Ownership was seized from the Eichhorns. Subsequently, members of the Japanese delegation were housed within the hotel, essentially held as prisoners, yet paradoxically receiving very attentive care. This action occurred because Argentina, in March 1945, very late in the war, finally declared war on the Axis powers. Prior to this, Argentina had maintained a stance of supposed neutrality, but the reality was that this neutrality was largely superficial, as the government had maintained very close ties with the Germans. Regardless, with the declaration of war and the subsequent confiscation of numerous German properties, the Eden Hotel specifically served as a site to confine Japanese and certain German diplomats. Curiously, the reality of this confiscation was not entirely straightforward. Some accounts assert that the Eichhorns continued to operate the hotel, and they reportedly continued to receive payments, albeit with a reduced number of guests, or perhaps no new guests at all. However, other versions suggest that guests continued to arrive, implying that the entire confiscation was merely an elaborate facade. This perspective suggests that the surveillance and the perceived security measures were, in fact, subtly arranged in favor of the Eichhorns. Following the conclusion of the war in 1947, the hotel was officially returned to them. By this time, the Eichhorns were reportedly exhausted and ailing, and they did not retain ownership for an extended period. They put the property up for sale, and from that point onward, the hotel embarked on a tumultuous journey, passing from one owner to another, experiencing varying degrees of limited success. Its once exalted status began to decline. No longer catering exclusively to the most eminent individuals, it now welcomed a diverse range of guests from all social strata. A significant factor contributing to this decline was the changing preferences of the wealthy elite. With the war over, affluent individuals once again sought to travel to Europe, to the sun-drenched beaches of the Mediterranean, or to newly established beautiful vacation resorts along various coastlines. Some even extended their travels to destinations such as Acapulco in Mexico. Consequently, the Eden Hotel steadily entered a period of continuous decline, gradually losing its renowned fame. It became less and less distinguished until it eventually acquired a reputation as a place of ill repute. In 1965, its doors closed permanently. In the 1970s, an attempt was made to transform it into a casino, but this venture did not prosper, and thereafter, the once grand establishment stood desolate and vacant. The term vacant, in this context, truly signified an emptiness that allowed for rampant decay. With no permanent inhabitants, individuals began to systematically plunder the hotel, tearing away anything of value. Bathroom fixtures, decorative elements, and countless other items were stripped away, piece by piece. Although a stable once occupied the ground floor, where locals housed their animals and stored various belongings, this appropriation contributed to the hotel's further destruction. The once innovative power generation plant was rendered inoperable, and the relentless theft of materials left the structure in a state of semi-ruin. By the 1990s, the hotel's dilapidated condition spurred a decisive initiative for its confiscation. The municipal government of La Falda formally acquired the Eden Hotel, subsequently declaring it a historical heritage site. This marked the beginning of a prolonged process to determine its future. Years later, around 2006, a concession was granted, allowing the hotel to be operated as a tourist attraction. It was transformed into a unique museum, offering guided tours, hosting events, and providing a captivating glimpse into its past, a function it continues to serve today. Visitors can explore its intriguing history and eerie ambiance, choosing between highly impressive daytime or nocturnal tours, or both, at a reasonable cost. The site also offers refreshments, historical photographs, and various exhibits. For those drawn to the paranormal, the night tours offer the distinct possibility of encountering the hotel's resident phantoms. Anna, the child spirit previously introduced, has been a spectral presence since 1898. Records discovered within the hotel confirm the death of an 8-year-old girl named Anna Jimes during that year, providing a tragic historical foundation for her enduring presence. The most compelling account of Anna's existence emerged in 2006 during one of the guided tours. A young girl, approximately 6 years old, tugged at her mother's clothing, exclaiming that she had found a new friend and wished to play. The mother, bewildered, noted that there were no other children present, only their group and the guide. When the guide inquired about the child, he was informed that in one of the rooms there was a girl with a bucket beside her bed. The guide, assuming it was a toy, asked what game she played with the bucket. The child, with chilling clarity, replied that it was not for play, but for spitting. The adults were stunned. The description provided by the child, the little dress, the shoes, and all the details, perfectly matched the known characteristics of Anna. Subsequent investigation revealed that in 1898, the daughter of the physician attending the president of the Argentine Republic had indeed died in the hotel from tuberculosis. The debilitating disease is known to cause severe coughing and effusions, often leading to the spitting of blood, hence the presence of a bucket beside the bed. This discovery added a profound and poignant layer to the enigma. Since that initial encounter, numerous individuals, particularly those accompanied by children, have reported seeing Anna both during the day and at night. Occasionally, a child will suddenly begin screaming, running, and pointing, declaring, "There's the girl! The girl is there!" The reality of her presence is so pervasive that compelling photographs have emerged, capturing the faint, ethereal figure of a young girl during the early morning hours or at night, amidst the guided tours. However, Anna is not the sole spectral inhabitant of this storied location. The hotel is also home to the ghost of the tall woman. All who knew María Herbert de Krotner consistently described her as an exceptionally tall woman, at least 1 meter 90 centimeters in height, a robust, imposing Valkyrie. She harbored an immense and abiding love for this place, dedicating her life to it with an almost fierce devotion. She worked tirelessly, often without sleep, pouring her energy into ensuring the hotel embodied her every aspiration. After the hotel's sale, Maria journeyed to Germany, seeking a period of tranquility, only to find herself embroiled in the chaos of the First World War. When she returned to Argentina in 1920, after the war's conclusion, it was primarily to settle some affairs, manage business dealings, and collect outstanding debts from the hotel. She then returned to Germany, where she would subsequently endure the Second World War. Maria's dreams were inextricably linked to her hotel. Shortly before her death in 1950, when dictating her memoirs to her niece, she recalled the place with genuine affection. She reminisced about the quiet afternoons, listening to the winds that swept through the region, sitting peacefully as she watched the business flourish, attending to guests, observing their smiles and contentment, and seeing them at ease within her beloved hotel. Witnessing her life's work deteriorate when she became ill and could no longer manage it was a profound tragedy for her. Coupled with the destruction and despair of the wars, these indelible memories were so deeply etched that it is widely believed the imposing phantom, the ghost of the tall woman, is none other than María Herbert, who continues her vigilant watch over her cherished hotel. Her spectral presence is not aggressive, but a degree of caution is advised. The hotel, even with ongoing restoration efforts, is an ancient structure that suffered severe deterioration due to neglect. While significant progress has been made, certain areas remain hazardous. Visitors are cautioned against following any figure they might perceive as a guide, especially if it leads into compromised sections. The spectral Maria has been observed walking down corridors, suddenly changing direction, and entering a room. Sometimes she enters a safe room, but at other times she enters one with a gaping hole in the floor or a broken element that could cause injury. One must not follow. Another compelling detail concerns María Herbert de Krotner's enduring fondness for observing the arrival of tourists and visitors from the grand balcony, where she would stand for years, watching the service, the attention, and anticipating the smiles on their faces. For decades, even extending back to the 1960s or earlier, there were consistent reports of Maria's ghost standing on that very balcony, gazing outward. When the hotel is deserted, no one remains there at night. Workers and caretakers house their animals in the stable area and then depart, for the ghost of Maria is believed to reside there, perhaps silently reproaching the neglect and mistreatment of her life's work. But she is not the only one. Other phantoms also make their presence known. One of the most terrifying is the cry of a child heard in the very early hours of certain mornings, making it a time when one should avoid being alone in the hotel. A guide once recounted an experience he had after dismissing a group of visitors and staying behind to secure the premises. He realized he had no transportation to leave, but there was a prepared room with all amenities where he could spend the night. In the deep hours of the morning, around 3 a.m., he began to hear the heartbreaking cry of a baby. It was a dreadful, desperate, persistent, and close sound. Armed with a flashlight, he rose and meticulously inspected the area from which he believed the sound emanated. His immediate thought was that someone had abandoned an infant, a scenario he had never encountered before. He frantically searched for the baby until dawn, but found no one. When other employees, construction workers, and maintenance staff arrived, they conducted a thorough search but found nothing. This chilling phenomenon recurred on several occasions. Later, upon speaking with individuals who had worked at the hotel years prior, he learned that this was a well-known occurrence, dating back to the hotel's operational days. Someone would arrive at reception, reporting a crying baby, only for staff to find no infant upon investigation. The terrifying cries, however, persisted. A legend suggests that an employee gave birth to a baby and, fearing dismissal, neither left nor took the child elsewhere, but left it within the hotel. The baby reportedly died while the woman was working. The exact circumstances of the baby's death remain unknown, but this tragic event is believed to have occurred in the early 20th century. The reason for the sound's persistence and recurrence remains an unsolved mystery. Further apparitions also manifest within the hotel. A male figure, whose identity remains unknown, has been seen in one of the rooms. A gentleman who suddenly appears and then vanishes. Another recurring phenomenon is the sound of a piano playing. This is interpreted as a memory of the past, an echo from a time when one or many individuals found such profound enjoyment in music that the moment became indelibly imprinted upon the fabric of that reality. Thus, in the middle of the night, a piano melody can sometimes be distinctly heard. Beyond musical notes, the sounds of the wind and other inexplicable noises permeate the space. In one of the kitchens, long devoid of activity, the distinct clatter of pots and pans can be heard, even though no one is cooking. These sounds were reported even in the hotel's final years of operation. Some employees understood that during certain hours of the night, it was simply preferable not to be present. The sounds were constant, repetitive, suggesting that these phantoms had already taken root long before the hotel's closure. The interactive nature of the child ghost Anna is particularly intriguing, leading some to speculate that the location itself possessed an inherent quality, or that certain actions were undertaken to create a type of spiritual trap holding these departed souls captive. There are even claims that Walter, Ada's husband, lingers as a phantom, and others assert that both Eichhorns can occasionally be seen walking together. These stories of spectral residents were already circulating even before the hotel's eventual closure. Current guides conducting tours have experienced a wide array of phenomena, from feeling unseen touches, perceiving the towering presence of the non-existent tall woman, to direct encounters related to the child spirit. Yet this location holds even more profound and unsettling secrets. Ada and Walter Eichhorn maintained an extremely close relationship with Adolf Hitler. In late July 1945, a significant stir occurred within the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, fueled by suspicions that Adolf Hitler had not in fact perished in the war. Officially, Hitler and his wife, Eva Braun, were said to have committed suicide on April 30, 1945, with their bodies cremated just outside the Chancellery bunker in a garden behind a guard post. Their remains were reportedly placed in a bomb crater, doused with fuel, and set alight. When Soviet forces took control of the area, they purportedly recovered two severely mutilated bodies, which were then secretly buried along with the remains of Goebbels and his family. The Soviets maintained this narrative, but never produced photographs or conclusive evidence. In 1946, the location of these remains was allegedly changed, and in 1970, according to the Soviet version, the bones were completely pulverized, reduced to ashes like in a crematorium, and then scattered. The Western Allies, including the United States and Britain, suspected that the Soviet account was untrue, believing the bodies had not been found. However, the Soviets could not admit the possibility that Adolf Hitler might have escaped. J. Edgar Hoover, the formidable head of the FBI, launched an ongoing investigation into this matter. American military intelligence in 1945 firmly believed that Hitler was still alive and had escaped. Two primary theories emerged, one suggesting he fled to South America, and the other postulating an escape to Africa, specifically South Africa, or an intermediate region with established German communities. Both South Africa and Argentina harbored significant German populations who had been ardent supporters of Adolf Hitler. However, the Eichhorns at the Eden Hotel had maintained an extraordinarily close relationship with Hitler, even financing his early political campaign. The money they sent to him allegedly purchased the Mercedes-Benz he drove everywhere and the small airplane he used for campaigning across Germany. They continued to provide financial support, to the extent that J. Edgar Hoover's report concluded that if Hitler had indeed escaped, he would have sought refuge in Argentina with Ada and Walter, with whom he had corresponded extensively. Letters dating from 1920-22 up to the 1940s exist, before the correspondence abruptly ceased and was never resumed. Therefore, the FBI's investigation strongly centered on the possibility that Adolf Hitler had been hidden at the Eden Hotel. However, there are chronological discrepancies. The Eden Hotel was confiscated by the Argentine government in March 1945, while Hitler's theoretical death occurred in April. Or did it? This is the crux of the debate. In August 1945, nearly 3 months after Hitler's supposed death and the war's conclusion, a German U-boat, U-977, arrived in Mar del Plata, Argentina, at the mouth of the Rio de la Plata. Curiously, it carried a remarkably small crew. According to the captain, a young man of 25, 18 crew members had been allowed to depart, 16 to return to Germany to find their families, and 2 to escape to Spain. With this significantly reduced crew, from an original 45, 18 had left, the submarine reportedly navigated the Atlantic for 3 months to reach Argentina, where it surrendered. There was a clear problem with the timeline. A U-boat could have covered that distance in far less time. Several details simply did not align. Many conspiracy theorists assert that U-977 had indeed picked up Hitler, transported him to Argentina, navigated the Rio de la Plata, and then the Paraná River until it was close to Cordoba. The Paraná, with its depths reaching 140 meters, was perfectly navigable for a submarine. Hitler and Eva Braun were then supposedly disembarked in certain areas, going into hiding in La Falda before fleeing to another region, ultimately reaching the Hotel Vienna, located elsewhere. All of this allegedly occurred within a clandestine network that, in reality, provided substantial support for the evacuation of various Nazi leaders. Figures like Eichmann and Mengele famously found refuge in Argentina. This theory therefore implicates the owners of the Eden Hotel as being deeply involved in these operations. Coincidentally, when Juan Perón assumed the presidency, he returned the hotel to the Eichhorns, and was known to be close to them and the German community. Ultimately, concrete assurances regarding these claims are elusive. Theories both supporting and refuting Hitler's escape persist. In 2018, a team of forensic pathologists claimed that the remains found in the bunker were indeed Hitler's, citing dental records recovered by the Soviets that reportedly corresponded precisely with Adolf Hitler's known dental history. It is crucial to note that no DNA testing was conducted. The identification was based solely on dental examination. Interestingly, Hitler was a vegetarian, and his teeth reportedly showed no signs of meat consumption, a detail that seemingly aligned with his known habits. Based on this, the pathologists concluded the remains could be his. However, the Soviets consistently maintained that they had pulverized the bones to dust and dispersed the ashes to prevent any future recovery, raising questions about the authenticity of the dental evidence. Why would they have done this? The underlying motive, according to some, was the desire of certain individuals to help Hitler and other Nazi hierarchs escape, fueled by the hope of establishing a Fourth Reich, a continuation of the Third Reich they had so fervently supported. This belief system could potentially explain their willingness to provide assistance. Returning to the present, the Eden Hotel undoubtedly holds many more untold stories. As recently as 2018, during routine maintenance work, laborers engaged in removing and repairing a ceiling panel made a startling discovery: human remains. They found a male skull, ancient, completely devoid of flesh, clean, and without a body or mandible. It was merely the upper part of the cranium. Intriguingly, it bore the letters MM painted on the forehead. Also found in the same concealed cavity were the remains of animals, including cats and other unidentified creatures. The questions immediately arose. What were these remains doing there? Who placed them? They were situated in an interceiling space, not, as some initial reports suggested, within a chimney. This means they were hidden between the ceiling joists and the floor above, concealed by a plasterboard panel below. Why would human remains be stored in such a clandestine void? This discovery perhaps bears a direct relationship to the hotel's long history of ghostly encounters. The concept of witchcraft, or rather esoteric rituals, might also be considered. It is often overlooked, but certain aspects associated with the Third Reich were deeply intertwined with occult practices and esoteric beliefs. Could this discovery be connected to such rituals? And are these places where such rites are performed imbued with a strange energy, a kind of spiritual gravity that retains individuals even after their departure? Ghosts lingering for 125 years, children forever crying. Perhaps all these phenomena are intricately linked, creating an enduring tapestry of the supernatural within the historic Eden Hotel.